So in a previous video, we built the same agent with Langflow and OpenAI's agent builder, part of AgentKit. If you missed that video, you can find it up here. What we're doing today is slightly different. Previously, we built a Google Calendar agent first in Langflow and then tried to replicate it in OpenAI. Spoiler alert, it was a little bit difficult. We actually failed. In this video, we're going to reverse the tables. We're going to do an Uno reverse card and start with OpenAI. In fact, we're going to start with one of the templates OpenAI's agent builder gives us, and then try and replicate it in Langflow and see how far we get. Again, we need to be very clear. We're not interested in saying this tool is better than that tool or that tool is better than this tool. And we're not interested so much in competing as we are in completing the landscape of tools that developers like you have. And we're not here to tell you this is better or that's better. We're just here to look at trade-offs and help you make the right choice to choose the right tool for your job. From the last video, just to recap, the main differences we identified is that with OpenAI, you tend to work in their ecosystem. You can only use their models and you use their solution that's hosted on their platform in their cloud on their infrastructure. But with Langflow, it's an open source tool that is free and you can download and run on localhost and host anywhere, in any architecture, in any cloud, anywhere you want. And you can use any model you want, whether from OpenAI or Anthropic, Hugging Face, or even just an open source thing you run on your premise in your cloud, which is maybe something you want. And that's kind of what we identified as the main trade-offs. In this video, we're going to explore just some more differences between Agent Builder and Langflow, starting from Agent Builder. So we'll start building on Agent Builder and then we'll try and copy it as best we can in Langflow. Okay, so with that, let's go to Agent Builder and take a look. So this is Agent Builder. And we're going to start with the internal knowledge assistant. I think that's kind of the go-to, right? Everybody needs an internal knowledge assistant, like check out my PDF for my CSV and ask questions and stuff. So this is the template in Agent Builder, and it looks good. Let's maybe pinch. And so here we've got a start, a query rewrite. So it rewrites the user's question to be more specific and relevant to the knowledge base. However, I don't see a knowledge base here, so we'll see how that goes. And there's some sticky notes. Then there's a classifier that determines whether the question should use the Q&A or fact-finding process. That's cool. How does it know what process to use? That's interesting. It's more. Okay, and then we've got a big if-else. Based on the question asked, triage to a if. This is interesting because you can add many, many steps. You can do if-else, if-else. I really like that. And Langflow doesn't support that, but maybe it should. And then if it's Q&A, use a Q&A agent with a prompt. If it's external fact-finding, use an agent. What's interesting here is there's no connection to my knowledge base. The internal Q&A should probably have some type of, in fact, let's fix this. Instead of saying search the web for my internal knowledge, which my internal knowledge isn't on the web, what we can do is get rid of that and we'll add a PDF that I own. So we'll do file search and we'll upload my PDF. This is the attention is all you need paper. I'm saying this is my internal data. Okay, and we're going to attach that. This would make more sense for like internal Q&A. I don't really know why it comes with web search as default, but so this looks good. Let's preview it and see what we have. So we'll say explain the paper attention is all you need to me. I love this two pane where you can see the workflow and the chat. So it's rewriting our query. Frankly, I don't think the query needs to be rewritten, but whatever. And it rewrote it to that. Now it's classifying as Q&A or fact-finding. Okay, it chose Q&A, off to a solid start, and now it's on the Q&A agent. Great. And we should have some output. Let's see. Okay, so it gave me a summary, and this I think can be considered working. Come on. Okay, great. That's fantastic. Let's do maybe another question, like who are the authors? And I'm intentionally keeping the typo there because it's an LLM. So it's rewriting my query to fix my typo. Let's see. Okay, so it rewrote it. Who are the authors? And it got the context. That's cool. Classifying it to this agent. Interesting. It classified it to the third agent, which the third agent operating procedure is other. And it still gave me the answer, but it didn't go to internal Q&A. That's interesting. I wonder why. And then finally, let's try and invoke this external fact-finding by asking what new papers came out since then, like in 2025, right? And my goal here is to try and invoke this external fact-finding agent. But so far, this is actually quite nice, I must say. I think even though operating procedure was other, it gave me this because it's just part of the training data, because the paper came out in 2017. In any case, this query rewrite step takes quite long. Okay, so now it's classifying. Come on. There we go. Fact finding. Perfect. Okay, so we invoked that very well. And now it's doing some web search. So what we can see is it's quite predictable. I mean, it went to the third fallback agent that one time. So on a score of X out of 3, I would give this 2 out of 3 because it got the Q&A right. It got the external fact finding right, but it kind of missed and went to the third agent. 2 out of 3 is the score. It's okay. There we go. It's doing fact searching in parallel apparently. Great, but I think we can call this working. It's going to give me an answer. And when it does, we'll go copy the same thing in Langflow and see how we go, okay? So are you done? Wow, it's still doing the work. Okay, we can come back to this. Let's replicate this flow in Langflow. So this is Langflow. Welcome to Langflow. We'll make a blank flow and start. So our start in Langflow is called chat input, and then it goes to a query rewrite agent. So let's do that. We'll get an agent here. This is our query rewrite agent. Again, cool thing in Langflow, everything's code. So if I want to call this query rewrite, I just go to the code, and somewhere here it's agent. I can just say query rewrite. It's all just Python. This whole graph is actually Python. Okay. So this is my query rewrite. So I send my input here, and let me just copy the system prompt from. Oh, did I just lose my workflow? Okay, I didn't. That's weird. Okay, so let's come here, and I'm just going to copy this prompt right there. Okay, cool. Next step, classifier agent. So we'll duplicate this, and I think we can just rename this one to be classifier. And let's copy that system. Why does it keep rewriting my, it's kind of annoying. Okay, so we'll come here, and now I'll copy just this. Paste it in here, but I want to be a little bit more specific. I want to say, because it's impressive that OpenAI can do if else on something with that type of system prompt. I know Langflow can't. So this is trade-offs for you. Respond only with Q&A if Q&A fact finding or other. I think that's helpful because this is going to be helpful for the if else because we'll match on exact strings. So now the response from the paraphrase will go here, and now we get an if else, which is just a component. Langflow, unlike OpenAI, doesn't have multi-branch if else. So this will make our flow more convoluted, but it's an open source project, so we're just going to add this now. But for now, this is how it looks. So if else, if the output from here exactly equals Q&A, then we've got a Q&A flow if this is true. But there's another case, right? If it equals, what's the thing? If it equals fact finding, that's right. So text input, if it equals fact finding, then do this. And so this becomes tricky now because what if it's neither? And so the correct way to do this is if it's Q&A, then we start another branch and we do the Q&A flow. So we'll need a prompt template, and we'll need to get the value and the user's question. Okay, and the value comes from here, so it's true, and the question comes from the paraphrase agent. So if it's true, what do? Well, we need another agent. So I'm just going to get an agent here. This is not a classifier, but this is the Q&A agent. So we'll say this is the Q&A. And the Q&A agent will get the question from here, and now the Q&A agent has tools, so it can use the file component, which is again just code. We'll select file, we'll choose our beautiful component here, and we'll say the advanced parser is on, so now we get the file content as markdown. That's what I wanted. And we'll also include the knowledge here in our prompt, so we'll just make a variable knowledge like that, and we'll just pop it in. Quest knowledge. Okay, so now we have our Q&A agent ready, but what about our other cases? Well, if it's else, then we'll take this prompt template, and here the value is false. We don't have knowledge, so we need to get rid of this. Okay, and the question still comes from the paraphrase agent. But now if it's false, that means it's either, I don't know, like the fallback agent, or it's the web search. So how do we know? Well, we have to do another if else, right? So we'll take, this is else if. So if now the value is directly matches, what is it, web search? What did I tell it to? Fact finding, that's right. So now if it's fact finding, we'll just reverse the order of these just to be extra safe. Okay. And we'll put the value, the value is false. The question comes from the paraphrase. The question already comes from the paraphrase. Awesome. Okay. So if it's fact finding, so if this is fact finding, then we get our fact finder agent. So I'm just going to duplicate this right here. Call this one fact finder. And then we'll, if it's true, we need to construct a prompt for this. So we'll duplicate this. We have question and value. So question comes from the paraphrase agent. Value is true. And the question comes from the paraphrase agent over here. Okay. This is our prompt for the fact finder. And the response we'll give it a chat output in a second. The only thing left to handle is the false case, right? And so for the false case, we need another agent. We'll call it the rejector, I guess. And we need a prompt template for this one too, which is here, which the value is false. The question, you guessed it, comes from the paraphraser. And we tell the agent instructions to ask the user to clarify. That's what OpenAI did. And so we include the prompt here. The system prompt for the fact finder is search the internet for an answer to the question. And we have to give it a tool, of course, web search. We'll get the web search. We'll turn on tool mode right there. Perfect. So now we have our system in Langflow that we replicated from OpenAI's agent builder. And indeed, I will say, if we're talking about like honest trade-offs here, it looks a little bit more complex, doesn't it? OpenAI's is way simpler, but we've got if else's and branches and stuff. Hey, but it's open source. We're gonna work on that. So now let's come here and validate everything looks good. It looks like it should work. The last step is to add chat outputs everywhere. So we'll get a chat output for our rewriter or paraphraser. Then we'll get a chat output for our classifier, just so we can see what's going on, right? Then we get a chat output for the other agents, the Q&A agent right here. And I think this is nice also on OpenAI's side that they don't have so many like chat, everything's implicitly an output. I think that's beautiful. I think we can learn from that. And then we'll come here and of course add a chat output. Okay, I think we're done. So now let's go to the playground and copy paste our prompts for science, which we don't have a history. Okay, so okay. Explain, I believe it was this, explain the paper to me. Oh, actually, we have to also make all our models GPT-5, again, for science. Just keep everything equal, GPT-5. Because in OpenAI's side, everything's GPT-5, so just got to be as close as possible, right? There we go, okay. And GPT-5 for the paraphraser. Okay, so now, explain the paper to me. And it's going to, we can actually close this and see where it goes. So it's here in the paraphrase. And I think side by side would be awesome. I think OpenAI does really well with the side by side. So it's now in the paraphraser and it's going to all these destinations, starting with the classifier. And if we open the playground, we should see it. Let's see what happens in a couple of seconds. Okay, so it classified, it paraphrased, explained the research paper, but it filled this in, which is kind of expected, I would say. And now so that it rewrote my query, and now it chose fact finding. Fair enough. And now it's going to go search the internet. Interesting. Let's go inspect the flow. Where is it now? It's here we go. So it's in the rejector. So it went to fact finding and then rejected us, I guess. And so now let's come here. I'm happy to help you. Could you share a few more details? Fantastic. That's actually what we want, the fallback agent. So far, 1 out of 3, we're good. Let's specify the name of the paper and see if we get Q&A. Yes, explain the paper. Attention is all you need to me. And so let's go back and look at our giant matrix of components. So we're here, it's rewriting. This step is typically the one that takes the longest, but we'll get there. Okay, so now we're classifying. Let's check. So it rewrote this, classified as Q&A. Okay, so that's 2 out of 3. Very good. And now let's take a look. Where are you in the chain? Are you finished? We can actually see, oh, it's reading the file. Perfect. Here's a practitioner focused 500 word. So it did it. So you definitely were 2 out of 3. Last one is the external research. And that's, has any new science come out? Exactly as we did with OpenAI. So let's go try this now. I want to press stop, but okay, cool. So we're good. Now let's try and see if we get the external search. Has any new research come out since then in 2025? Or rather, what new research? All right. Let's see. So now I'm not gonna like zoom out and look at. I mean, we can if you want. Like, look, we're back here. That's, I think, a bug that shouldn't be black, but I want to see if it chooses Q&A or the rejector or external search. So I'm excited about this one. All right, we have a rephrase. Honestly, that rephrase thing just costs latency. If I was making this from scratch, I wouldn't add the rephrase. So here's the moment of truth. Q&A. Okay, well, since what are the most influential advances through 2025? And it thought this was Q&A. To be fair, it is a question, but it should have known. The interesting thing is, in terms of workflow building, I hope you've seen in this video that it's similar. But what we failed on here, actually not failed, we tied. It's 2 out of 3 also on OpenAI. Anyway, but like the main differentiator here is the intelligence. It's not really the workflow experience, which also has its trade-offs, but here it's a question of intelligence, right? How do you infer which agent to talk to? So it's decided Q&A. I'm going to stop it, but maybe it would decide differently if I chose a different model. So instead of OpenAI, and this is something that you can only do with Langflow, I'm going to use Claude 3.7 Sonnet from Anthropic, right? And let's try that again. And this may go exactly the same way, but I'm just curious. And we can. So okay, so GPT-5 rephrased it and then gave it to Anthropic. And Anthropic said, I need to check the current. Okay, well, I think we didn't set a system prompt because it's just answering. Oh no, we did. What's the answer? Q&A. Okay, so it also thought Q&A. Well, in this case, it's a question of intelligence. Without digressing too much and now rabbit holing on this, I hope it's become clear the trade-offs between the tools. If it hasn't, let's summarize. And let's summarize by starting at the beginning. So if we go to OpenAI's Agent Builder, it's beautiful, it's simple, it's minimalistic. And frankly, this is a highlight for me, the if-else stacking. But this is how you build and answer my questions internal Q&A agent with OpenAI. Start, query, write, classify, if, and then you hand off to one of 3 agents. In Langflow, this is what it looks like. And to be fair, it is more complex, but it's similar. We start, agent number 1 to rewrite, agent number 2 to classify, exactly like this, without all the extra inputs and outputs, as you can see. And then the if-else is kind of where we lose it. So if-else is one branch here, and then from one branch there. I think another reason this is more complex is the if-else, this true or false doesn't really give you a value. It should just proxy the string through, but it doesn't. That's why we've then got to go here and get the paraphrase. In any case, if-else, you have agent here, else if, you have agent here with tools, and you have an agent there. That's the trade-offs, at least for this point in time. Langflow can do the same job, but as you can see, with a little bit more perhaps visual clutter. That said, we do offer you the possibility to work with any models, including open source and self-hosted ones. And the trade-off being, maybe the UI is a little bit more complex. What do you think? We're interested to hear your feedback. Let us know on X or Discord. There's links under the like button. Also, just comment on YouTube. After watching this, we're already thinking about simplifying this a little bit more. So if you want to subscribe to that, we're more than happy to have you be part of the conversation as we build these tools for you anyway. There's ways to do that as well under the like button. For now, thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next one.